We're going to use the chart of a public figure whose history cannot be debated, whose history is well published, right? And we're going to use one of our people, all right? Malcolm X was born on May 19th, 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. All right. For the sake of minimizing the variant views and any form of argumentative discrepancy, we're going to just deal with one aspect of his chart. So the time of birth, we're not even going to get into that, right? At 7:58 p.m. Daylight Savings Time. Okay? And his ascendant was 3 degrees Sagittarius in Omaha. Alright? This Sagittarius being the first sign puts the sign of Cancer on the 8th cusp, and in the sign of Cancer at the 11th degree was the planet Pluto. At the 6th degree was the planet Mars. So we're going to deal with this alignment here to show how the chart gives indication with the same symbols to those things that we do have the human capacity to affect, and those things which we do not have the human capacity to affect. Okay? All right. Now, there is a lot more to his birth chart than just this, okay? But this is enough to illustrate to you the fact that he had control over what this indicates, and he had processes in his life that he had no control over that this indicates, okay? And in order to do that, we're going to need to look at these components separately. We have the sign of Cancer, which points to the primary women in a subject's life. It points to the domestic situation and conditions. Not only does it point to the mother, it points to parenting, parenthood, or anything to do with the parents, with either parent, okay, with the family as a whole, all right? He had Cancer in the 8th place. The 8th place deals with irrevocable, life processes. One of them, in this case, being death. It also points to wounds. All right? Injury and healing processes. All right? He had Mars in Cancer. This points to, universally and most simplistically, violence, It points to fire. And the fiery emotions like anger and annoyance, irritation, right? It points to penetration. Anatomically, it deals with blood. All right? Cancer, anatomically, deals with the chest, the stomach, and a few other parts of the body that aren't pertinent in this examination, right? Mars points to also police, crisis, emergency, ambulance, paramedics, emergency and crisis workers. All right. Pluto echoes the 8th place by his modern rulership of Scorpio. It deals with death, it deals with life transference. Every single conceivable form of life transference in modern astrology. Thus, we deal with sex, orgasm, pregnancy, birth, evolution, through metamorphosis. Okay? But it deals with death, wounding. All right? Now, from the brief examples I give here, what these symbols mean is very easy to glean his natal promise. Okay? When we look at the history of Malcolm, we learn that approximately at the age of 7, his father was murdered. One of his parents, Cancer, died from a violent assault that took his life. What could he have done to change that at the age of 7? It definitely didn't happen from any choice that he made, but it points to a reality in his life. Okay? One that we can't change. So one of his parents was violently killed. If we just use Pluto conjunct Mars in Cancer, the fact that we put it in the 8th place shows where he would get his experience with death. Right there. So what parts of these planets did he possess the ability to change? Or which parts of them did he possess the ability to apply his will to? When we look psychologically at what these things point to on a psychological, emotional level, all right? Cancer points to fundamentally, I want to give the most fundamental meanings here so that there's no area for confusion or argumentation, for variance and differences, right? Cancer deals with family, domestics, the home. Okay? The eighth place is what you share with your partner. Alright? What you possess together and what you work with together. It also points to the partner's property. Mars, as we said earlier, anatomically points to blood. Right? It also deals with fire. And Pluto deals with irrevocable life processes, death being one of them. Right? From this, we can see that his home his partner's property, fire, and death. We know that 30 years after his own demise, his wife died in her home in a fire. Okay? These things cannot be overlooked and written off as something he had control of. She died after his death. He was born 9 years before Betty was born. And therefore, it leaves room for us to logisticize, to wander and to ponder the reality that the choice he made to marry her was his own. I mean, for all the sakes and appearances, they chose to marry each other. They chose to love each other. But his birth chart promised the type of woman he would marry. It also gave indication of her own demise. How could he have changed that? You know, these are questions that we address in astrology philosophically ever since its modernization. Okay, the reason why I brought this up is so that people can understand that when we say natal promise, the planets do promise what are going to happen. We can look at the charts of any person alive or dead, preferably those people that are passed, so we can see what the indication of the chart is compared to what actually transpired in their life, right? And well, they say, well, if someone is still alive, then they can change these things. Well, I doubt very seriously that at any point in his life, he could have changed the outcome of his wife's demise, which is indicated in his own birth chart. I doubt very seriously he could have done anything that would have kept Betty from passing away in a fire. You see? This is how the natal promise works. Now, bear in mind, Mars means a million things. Like, we only briefly touched on a few of them here today. So there are things that we have control of in this world and things that we do not have control of in this world. And they are strangely mixed. With that, I want to move on to the next segment. The natal promise was important to examine and understand because often enough, I am questioned as to what type of partner one is supposed to be with. You know, that's one of the most prevalent inquiries made in my profession. People want to know, who am I supposed to be with? When they're single, what type of person should I be looking for? When they are dissatisfied in a relationship, pondering separation or divorce, what type of person do I really need? Well, the chart shows us what we're supposed to experience through a means of symbolism, okay? Understand that each component in the chart carries with it potentially thousands of variations, potentially millions, depending on the symbol involved. So it's not going to be conveyed in just one demonstration, but a part of it can be gleaned. Right? One of the most prevalent questions I receive as a professional celestial scientist is, describe my partner. What type of person am I supposed to have? The chart will show you what you need to fulfill your karma, okay, to fulfill your debt to humanity and to the Creator, if you want to believe in it, okay? There are certain things that you require in order to fulfill them, which is why we find ourselves in relationships when they fail. It's not necessarily because of what this person did or what you did that relationship failed. The ultimate reason is that this person no longer contributes to your growth and development, to your purpose on this planet. They are no longer able to assist you in the fulfillment of your natal promise. And your natal promise will reveal the type of person that you are supposed to settle down with, as opposed to what society puts on you, okay? When we look at a man's chart, there are 3 factors in Cozmophyzix that we take immediate consideration of, all right? And that is, in a man's chart, we are looking at his mother image. This is given by the position of the moon, how he relates to women, what his ideal mother would be like, what his domestic situation should concern. And the sign that is there will give description as to what his ideal mother image is, what his relationships with women are like. The aspects from other planets will also modify his success. It will give indication as to his success and his shortcomings with regards to maintaining a relationship with what his mother image is. The house and its ruler, or the sign's ruler, will also modify this severely. Now, if I got into all of these details, even by example, we'd be here for hours. So I'm trying to keep these as short as possible. Not only do we look at the moon in a man's chart, we look at Venus. Venus deals with what attracts him, what he finds pretty or beautiful. All right? And it also shows by his sign, by his aspects, by his house and the ruler of that place, and the aspects to the house ruler. What type of woman he would commit to. What type of woman he finds commitment worthy. Okay? Which any one of the 12 signs can describe. Any one of the 7 aspects that we use in Cozmophyzix will also describe the nature of his experience in pursuit of this type of individual that his chart describes. And we look at the placement of Neptune, which deals with fantasy, idealism, glamour, and negatively delusion, self-deception. Okay? But for the most part, Neptune, by its sign, will determine where his fantasies go. Every guy wants the fantasy girl, okay? But in our experience, sometimes you'll never find the person who has all 3 of these qualities. Let's say the moon was in Gemini and Venus was in Sagittarius. Between these 2 is an opposition already. So it seems that he's never able to find a woman that he finds commitment worthy. Okay, even if he believes that she'd be a good mother, you see the aspect there? If this trines, then it is very likely, and it's very easy for him to connect with a person who carries the same qualities that he finds worthy for a woman to settle down and live with, or a woman that he is attracted to, all right? And the aspects will definitely give an indication as to the ease or difficulty with regards to acquiring what these things describe. In a woman's chart, we look at the sun, because the sun points to the father. The sun in and of itself also points to children. So the type of man with whom she seeks to settle down and have a family, children with, right? To love, would be described by the sign that the sun is in, and the aspects to the sun, as well as the ruler of that sign. Okay. Mars points to what she finds attractive physically. Mars deals with sexual excitement, you know. It deals with fast, rapid action, impulsive action, and who she would be immediately attracted to her. And because Mars also deals with machismo, or manliness, masculinity, right? Aggression. It shows what qualities by sign, as aspect, and the ruler of the sign that it's in, and the aspect to that ruler. What type of man she's turned on by. What type of man she is attracted to. Right? Then Jupiter. Jupiter deals with well-being. You know, good fortune. Also sweeping, wide, broad motions, figuratively as well as literally. And Jupiter would describe the type of man that would sweep her off of her feet. The guy who's funny, the guy who she actually enjoys, all right? So when we look at a woman's chart, we're taking into consideration the placement of these three planets and their alignment. And, you know, I get the question often, like, how come I can't find a man who is this, who is A, B, and C? Because that's what I want. Well, what she describes often is what she has in her birth chart or progressed chart, okay, concerning these planets. And the aspect between them will determine the degree of difficulty or ease that is involved in making the connection with these type of people. And we use the positions of the planets into consideration that they are the natal promise. We take into consideration those qualities that the planets describe verbally when they're translated, when they're delineated, that describe the things that we have a grasp and control over, as well as those things that we do not have a grasp and control over. And we weigh those to make the conclusion as to what type of person what type of individual or person needs to settle down with. Okay? I hope that enlightens you a little bit to the consideration, to the process that we put into the determination of finding a partner. Understand that you are going to get who you are designed to be with, as we are able to describe past experiences with your relationships. Right? That's a good one. Please subscribe to my channel. Visit my website. Address is at the bottom. Have a good one.